So it's of moment to note that everything I've discussed thus far has been fully ventilated, adjudicated in court, and ruled on. It is public knowledge. Importantly, it is of utmost public interest. I've received endless requests for the judgments. I've never bothered to check if any part of this matter was reported. I just had no interest in that. I have my own papers. But the public can note that not all judgments get reported. The court decides what judgments are reportable. So that is for you to conduct the homework and find the judgments. I will return to this matter when the correct time comes. What is available, however, is the court papers, which are somehow understood from the law library that no one can find. So I leave it to you to go and find the papers. I have mine. The teaching moment here is that we are obsessed with the destination. So before you even understand the veracity of the matter, everyone wants to know, did you win or lose? I think you remember I told you, it is not about win or lose. By virtue of going to court, in my humble opinion, you have already lost. That's why in my practice, I only use non-adversarial approach. I mediate cases. I don't go to court. I only go to court if I'm dragged to court. Another thing is, for me, what is most important, other than the destination, is the journey itself. I learned a lot through this experience. I was forced to read beyond. So the journey of this experience have taught me more than anything else. So I'm very grateful to the journey, and I will make sure that I use my findings to the benefit of my people. A lot of people have also asked, what academic papers have I published? I think I've touched on this in my past videos. I don't do that. I don't write for first-class journals. I write lived research findings. I conduct lived research. I look at what my people need on the ground, and I research what solutions I can bring to the ground. That's what I document as a business plan, and then I implement it. So I'm not interested in journal articles. That's not me. There's nothing wrong with journal articles, and maybe it suits some people. That is not me. Unfortunately, in academia, especially in South Africa, it happens worldwide though, you are paced according to the papers you publish. Then you get different levels of professorships according to your publications. So I refuse to be dictated to by white supremacy on how I conduct my career. I don't want to write for journals. So how can my career depend on that? Abroad, however, they're more open-minded. So when it comes to your time to be promoted or for whatever reason, you can motivate what you do with your time instead of publishing. So the lived research that I conduct, for me, it's actually superior to anything else because it helps my people in real time. So I produce that because that's my academic work. What I have done then with this case is I've documented it and made it an academic case study, which I will run moot courts wherever people are interested. I will approach universities locally and run a moot court for law students to play with the facts, and let's see what they come up with. Because it's a matter of public interest, I don't want it to die. So I'm going to keep it in the academic circles. Abroad, they've already adopted it as a case study. So I will approach local universities, but I have written a solid case study on this case. Then comes the matter of settlement. I wasn't going to discuss settlement, but I've been getting a lot of requests to discuss the settlement, because apparently Standard Bank shuts the door and say this is settled. No, I will come back to that in the next video. So back to the settlement. Let me first say, this was not a win or lose for me. This was a desperate fight of a black widowed mother to free her daughter from the devil's claws. Secondly, it was about a teaching moment to teach Goliath that I don't get bullied. They will never touch my car. And I achieved both. That said, the journey for me was more educational than the win. So in my next communication, it wasn't that asking for a round table to settle amicably. It wasn't that. I sent a proper letter of demand. So this letter of demand, they immediately said, yeah, we're doing it. And then what wasted time was the up and down, because there were clauses that they fought so hard not to have in the settlement agreement. So obviously, the first thing they're going to take out is the investigation of fraud. And because I wanted the car settled, I let that slide. Then they insisted on a clause that says, look, we acknowledge that you want to pay all the money you owe. Oh, just to reverse a bit. So during this settlement moment, remember that phone call that always offers me the latest model? This phone call came and they offered me the car. And I told them, I don't get fed by white supremacy. I earn my keep. And in law, there's something called unjustified enrichment. I don't want to have anything that I didn't work for and earn fully. So that's why I said I calculated every cent that I've paid. I calculated the cost of the car, and I offered them the difference as my settlement. So they accepted this, but they were insisting on a clause that says, I will never sue Standard Bank for anything, not their employees, not their cats, not their flower pots outside, nothing. I will never look at Standard Bank. I thought, I don't take instructions from you. I said to them, I will not sue you for anything else except fraud and gross negligence. So we fought on that for a long time. What gross negligence? What fraud? I said, if I don't have that in the settlement agreement, there's no settlement. I pay you every cent that is outstanding in my car, cash, and then I want whatever you want. I won't sue you for anything else except fraud and gross negligence. And we signed on that. I won't sue them for anything else except for fraud and gross negligence. So that's where the settlement ended. Paid them their money, they transferred the car back to us, and that was the end. My learnings from this experience. Only two. One, we, the poor, uneducated, hungry people, do not have access to the law. We do not have protection from Goliaths. Two, the value of knowledge. That's all I want to talk about today. That's what I learned from this experience. So let's start to access to law. The Goliaths, they understand the legal system so well, they invest in it. Their annual budget for litigation can educate the entire country. When they litigate against you, they will never let you see the trial. They will trap you in the periphery. You will never see the trial. Because if I had access to the trial, I would have tested the installment sale agreement. I would have subpoenaed the SAPS forensic laboratory. I would have called forensic experts. I would have called legislators. And we tested. And I would have proven that it is a forgery. But without a trial, judges are limited to solve only the question before them that day in court. So what they do is they don't allow you to get to trial. They want to hit and run quickly. They take you there. They take you to default judgment. If you try and they do summary judgment. The day they do summary judgment, the writ of execution is issued. And at that time, the truck is outside your house. Do you know where that car is going to spend the night? At the same dealership. And that dealership is going to buy that car at the fraction of the price you bought it. Who's going to pay the difference? You. The bank is going to sit on your throat and they'll say, look, the car was 10 Rand. We sold the car for 3 Rand. We still need 7 Rands and you are responsible for it. So now you are paying for a car you don't have. And the dealership is doing a brand new transaction with the car. And they roll it a few times. So if I cannot prove this legally, how else can I do it? If they just go hit and run and they're out. So if you think you're going to fight back and do what I did, for 4 years, I was in court all the time, but I never saw the trial. They trap you in urgent interlocutory things. You just go like this. You'll never see the trial. Even if the trial were to come, the trial date is 5 years away. So you have to wait 5 years. I told you about the lawyers. They're all briefed. Wherever you go, they'll tell you, it's a conflict of interest. We can't do it. When you find a lawyer with the brain, you know what they do? They give him a killer retainer. And they drop you. You'll never fight against them. Even if you were to find a lawyer, an ethical lawyer, do you have the money? Do you know the Justice for matter was in court for 3 days? Do you know what a senior counsel costs per day just to appear in court? It's between 80,000 and 150,000. If he's there for 3 days, it's 240,000 to 450,000, not negotiable. So they take senior counsels to court. You have to match them. 240,000, where are you going to get that from? It's not even worth 240,000. So your home is not worth 240,000. How are you going to pay that for legal fees? For one appearance, it's not even the case. One appearance. And that money does not even consider preparation, drafting, none of that. Only appearance. Where are you going to get that from? So by virtue of not being able to access the law, we need to question the constitutional promise that says everyone is equal everyone is equal before the law. How? How can I be equal to somebody I'm not standing in the same platform with? I have no access to the law. So how can I be equal in front of the law? It's not possible. We need to question that constitutional promise and a whole lot of other things that are promised in the Constitution. Things like, oh, free market, you can go and buy a house. With what? With what? We need to look at this. Then I want to talk about the value of knowledge. I didn't come to you for any other reason except to ask you to stand up, to open your eyes, and for us to start doing things for ourselves. You see, everyone is screaming about qualifications now. That's just noise. That's just information. Education does not happen in university. University just collect these useless papers. That's not where the education happens. You know, there's the first 1,000 days of a child. That's about 2.6 years or 2.7 years. If you miss those 1,000 days, something just closes. You'll never rescue that child again. So the most important thing we need to do is to make sure that the first 1,000 days are properly covered. There's a huge jump between the first 1,000 days to university. We will look at all of that, but we need to do things properly. So what I want to do from tomorrow is I want to start talking about the educational program. I'm going to explain how the entire program works, and if we agree, we're going to come together and we're going to start doing it for ourselves. Educating our children, looking after our elders. We build old age homes. We go fetch our grannies from the leaking shacks and we put them in a safe place. We get nurses, we get caregivers to look after them, and then we educate our children. We can do it ourselves. We don't need anybody. So tomorrow I am delivering the first education video, and then we take it from there.